one of the big things is family dynamic.
Yeah.
Because see, like I grew up, my dad cooked all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like dinner, I'd come home for dinner, he would make dinner. So like part of it for me, that was just part of what I thought, oh, I don't know. I mean, I just cook dinner. Mm-hmm. But I think that's very important to understand as you're entering in a marriage, like those roles that come from, a family that you grew up in are so important to this discussion. This is Ryan and Michelle, and welcome to the Celebrate MarriageCast, where we hope to restore and reclaim godly marriages through honest and real conversations.
Welcome to episode 81. We are so glad that you're joining us today. Hello, listeners. Proud of you for growing in your relationship and working on that. We have a great show ahead and so glad that you're here. So great job to you. Ryan?
Yes.
Today we have a guest back, one of our friends of the Celebrate MarriageCast. We are excited to welcome back Tony Boer, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist with Sioux Empire Christian Counseling and has such practical wisdom for us time and time again on the show. We always joke that we feel like we're getting sessions too. It's like a 2-for-1 deal here, but this is such valuable information. And today we are talking about newlyweds and 3 areas that you really want to dig into before you get married. But first, welcome to our show, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's always fun. I'm glad I'm your friend and I'm glad I'm a guest and I appreciate coming back. I enjoy the time too.
And you're here. What is new with you, Tony? Give us all the life updates.
Newest life update. I just came back from Arizona. I have a daughter down there and a grandson who turned 2. So I went to a 2-year-old's birthday party, which was actually pretty awesome. I had a lot of fun. Took him for ice cream and he calls me Papa. So it's awesome. Can't complain at all. It's pretty fun.
Was there like a theme for the birthday party, like Mickey or?
He loves dump trucks and diggers and that kind of stuff. So there were dump trucks and diggers and backhoes and all that stuff all over the place.
Oh my gosh. So fun.
Yeah,
and
so
Papa.
Fun. And Papa.
Yeah, so sweet. Super fun.
So that's what's been exciting with me. Anything exciting with you guys? It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah. Our son turned 10, which was kind of, I feel like we were a little sentimental. You were sentimental. I was sentimental.
Yeah. I don't really know why. It just, it hit me.
It's one of those big number ones. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think, Ryan, you had brought up the point that it feels like now he's tipped over. They're at home for 18 years and 9 is like halfway, but now it's like, it's tipped, right?
Yeah.
Not that he won't come back from college or whatever he does. And he's actually already told us that he wants to live in our house forever. So he could be a basement dweller for a while. Who knows? but really it could be halfway.
Right. Yeah.
Time goes fast. You can see, we're kind of over that halfway point then.
Right.
Yeah. And I think too, like he came into the world so fast and furious. He was 5 weeks early. He was in the NICU. Most people here in our church family kind of know, like let's just call it what it is. It was very, in a way, traumatizing.
Traumatic story,
it was not expected. And there was so much unknown. It was just a moment of surrender to God. Like, okay, God, we trust you. He was in the NICU for 3 weeks, which is not a long time in the grand scheme, but when it's not expected, it felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
So I think part of my mind too, when I reflected on, wow, he's 10, part of me, I can't believe it's been 10 years. Yeah. Like it's just gone so fast. And thinking about just the gratitude for how he's healthy and thriving now. And it's just, there's so much, the hand of God so much on his life and in all of that now it's been a decade. It just kind of felt like I don't know, just a reflection of that, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
For sure. I think, I don't know, just watching it, it was all so fast. It seems like it just went so fast. Mm-hmm. But.
Well, I have bad news for you. It just gets going faster. When you talk about NICU, the daughter that I visit in Arizona who has the 2-year-old, she started out as a NICU baby.
Wow.
And to go from that to grown and married and having kids of her own. And I'm like, yep, I remember the days going back in the NICU and just touching her in the incubator and just kind of seeing that, boom. And now I'm a grandpa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So enjoy your times, you guys.
All right.
Have fun.
All right.
Yeah. and talking to the newlyweds. So, hey, here's a little tip for you newlyweds. Like, it is a quick trip. We say that a lot around Celebrate. It's such a quick trip. So just really being good stewards of the time that you have and really, I guess, seeing what's important to you in life on a daily basis, you know, not getting caught up on the small things. And so we're excited for our show, Tony. Thank you. Right. It's wedding season. The team thought this would be very appropriate as we, you know, get into that wedding season. I know we have an invite on our board. We have 2 other friends that are engaged, and I don't know. Do you have wedding invites already for this season?
I get wedding invites and different things, and my wife gets a bunch, and our family gets a bunch, and I get some from my office, and it's that time of the year of it's wedding season, so that's a good idea. Let's talk a little bit about newlyweds and when you're first starting out in your marriage and what are some important things and stuff that you need to make sure you cover.
Awesome. We're excited for the show, so we hope it's valuable for everyone. I know it will be. So where do we want to start? So you said 3 areas.
Yeah, before we do the 3 areas, the biggest, most important thing that I would say is if you're getting married, get some premarital counseling. Most churches will do that as part of, if you're getting married in their church, they'll do that because it's so important. And it's just a good way to get started on stuff, is you want to get started on the right foot and do the right things. This is the time of year where we talk about, I will get calls in my office and they'll be like, Tony, do you do premarital counseling? And I'm like, yep, okay. It's usually this many sessions and this is how much it costs. And then they go, oh, I don't know if I can afford that. And I'm like, oh man. And because what happens is they'll spend thousands on a dress, they'll spend thousands on a venue, spend thousands on food and catering and DJ. And then it's like, can you spend a couple $100 on getting your marriage started on the right foot? And so there's a piece of like, obviously I'm a counselor. I think that's really important, is you're planning a lot about having the day go really well. What we're going to be talking about today is planning your marriage to go really well, which is way longer than that day. Is, hey, let's cover these things and get started on the right foot and do some of those things. So yes, it's expensive. It's probably the least expensive thing of all the wedding stuff that you're going to do. And hopefully will have the biggest bang for your buck and last the longest. So that would be my first thing before we even talk about just the other stuff, is just to kind of pay attention when you're talking to your pastor and you're doing the premarital counseling, and take the time and do that. And if your church doesn't do that, go find somebody that does do premarital counseling.
Why, Tony? And I don't want to jump ahead as to what we're talking about, but why is it so important?
You're going to start a lot of patterns, right? How your marriage works, how it operates. Let's be proactive and start these patterns. Some of these things we'll talk about today. I'll ask you guys, hey, how do you guys do this? How do you do that? Like, oh yeah, but you know that now after spending time living together, having some arguments, solving some fights, you guys have figured that stuff out. It's so beneficial to do that on the front end. Let's be preventative. Let's talk about some of these things before we're fighting and before we're arguing. And so it's just, you're going to get in a habit, you're going to get in a pattern of how your marriage runs and operates. I just want you to have a little more control over that and set it yourselves instead of just kind of letting it happen.
Ryan, we took a class through Celebrate.
Yeah.
It was a one-on-one with a counselor. Do you remember that? We filled out a book.
Yeah.
And I just remember there being a lot of questions. Actually, we should have brought the books for today. It would have been really fun to look at and compare.
Go back and look, yeah.
I just remember we had to ask, we had to answer a ton of questions. What do you think about this? How would you, and I don't even know what they were about, just things that maybe could potentially cause conflict.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think we used, I think we used a book that Les Parrott had put out. It
was called Before You Say I Do.
Yeah.
Just a thin little workbook. But and I feel like it was really helpful because out of those sessions, we would drive away and just, it would open up dialogue. Yeah. Where, let's talk about that. What do you think about that? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? I mean, it's possible people have not had those conversations yet, right?
Likely.
So that.
But and that's actually good transition. That's the first thing. If we talk about those 3 things, what's the first thing is know who you are. And that's kind of why you're answering all those questions. You're doing that is you need to know, what are you bringing into this marriage? Are you a spender? Are you a saver? What kind of family do you come from? Do you come from a family that does a lot of things together? Do you come from a family that doesn't do too much together? Are you bringing in some trauma and hurt? And we often think about it's like, oh, I'm marrying this person and she's awesome and she's great and she's coming into our family and she's cool. We think about all the stuff that we're getting, which is really cool and awesome. But you also want to think about, what are you bringing to the table? What are you? So when you talk about answering all those questions, and it actually worked. Notice what you did. Oh, on the way home, we talked about these things. This is what's going on. What do you think about that? And premarital counseling and doing those kind of things, everyone always thinks it's like this test to see if we should get married or not. It's not that at all. Mm-hmm. What it is just get to know you guys a little bit more, know what you're bringing to the table, know what your blind spots are. It's like, hey, this is me. This is how I operate. This is what I do when I get mad and angry. This is pieces of me that aren't cool. So the more that you talk about that, know that on the front end, the better that gets. So that's usually why a lot of premarital therapy has a lot of questions of just, can we talk about these things and get to know so you know what you're bringing to the table?
I love what you said there, Tony. And I think that's so important for our listeners to hear again, just to unmask that perception that premarital counseling is not to determine if you should get married. So take that fear off the table. Yeah. It's really to, like you said, to make sure that it's about more than a day. Like you spend all this money on the dress and the venue and the DJ and the food, that this is to help make sure that your marriage can start out on the right foot as you get into real life, which will happen an hour after you're married. You're going to have something come up the next day for sure that you're going to need to be compatible with and to work through together. So I love that, that mindset going in, that it's not, you're not going to get told, oh my gosh, what are you guys doing? But this is how you can work together and be married and be on the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that proactive approach of like, hey, if there's, if we are vastly different with our finances, hey, let's talk about this beforehand of, hey, I spend money as soon as I get it. Mm-hmm. And then, no, I keep every penny that I make. It's like that is going to cause conflict down the road if you don't address it.
Correct.
And I love that let's be proactive with it. And I Michelle, I love what you said, in response to, it's not a test to see like, hey, you guys shouldn't get married. But it's a tool to help.
Yeah.
And help navigate what that future looks like.
Yeah. And if you guys are listening to these podcasts, you're hopefully learning this theme of like communication and talking and all the stuff that you guys are doing is, of course, couples aren't going to match up perfectly on that. Can you talk and communicate? And do you know what you're bringing to the table is these different pieces? Because most problems are solvable if we can talk about them and address them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Amazing. Communication is such a big part. Yeah. So good, Tony. So that's the why. So then what are the three areas what can people expect when they get into counseling and they've said yes, they've invested that in their future marriage? What are the areas that you usually work with couples on? And you guys, I want you to know what a value this is, because Tony, you've counseled hundreds,
probably thousands by now, unfortunately.
So I feel like we get to glean such good wisdom from you. So what are the areas that you dig into with couples?
Yeah. And so like I said, the first big thing is, what are you bringing to the table?
Okay.
The second big thing is, we call it the big three. There's three topics you're going to talk about the entire course of your marriage is sex, money, and kind of your faith or your religion. Those three things are going to be there no matter what. So if you come to premarital therapy, we'll do a session on each one of those. Like, so we'll spend a whole hour on sex, a whole hour on money, a whole hour on your faith, because you're going to talk about them for your entire course of your marriage. They change over time, your faith, your money, your finances, right? Money's a funny one in that it's like, hey, when you first get married, we talk about, oh, what bill are we going to pay first? We have no money, right? And then as that course of that marriage goes through, it's like, oh, then we pay for this, then we're trying to save money for a house, and then we're going to pay off this, and then we're going to go on vacation here. And so you're always talking about money, so you better know how to do that. And so we start that groundwork, that communication, being really specific on those big three topics, because you guys have been married for a long time. I've been married a long time. And those topics don't go away. So it's kind of that proactive approach. Let's start right off from the beginning. If you're like, oh, I don't really want to tell him about my money, or I don't really want to talk about sex, or I don't want, my faith's kind of private and important and I don't want to share that. Like, oh, well, we're going to have to teach you guys how to do that because it's really important. And all three of those things are very intimate, powerful things. That's why they're tricky to talk about, but we're going to have to learn how to do it. So those are three big things that hopefully all premarital counseling covers.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking of the foundation, and you said this, Tony, and I'm thinking as we're talking about this specifically towards newlyweds, you hit it right on though. These conversations will follow you the rest of your life.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking, like I'm thinking of this of like, oh, we still talk about this. Like we still talk about money. We still talk, like all of this is still part of the conversation. And so if you're building that foundation, that is so game-changing for your marriage.
Yeah. A few weeks back, Ryan, you had a statement. We were talking about conflict, and I don't know where we were talking about this, but some people that just kind of suppress it and shove it down. And you said, somebody had said, I don't really do conflict. And you had said, that's actually not true because you're just prolonging the time that you will deal with it, And I feel like this is one of those things. You can sweep those conversations and not talk about them up front, but they're gonna come up when you're married. So the best time to talk about it is beforehand. And I appreciate what you said, Tony, about not being embarrassed. You're, as a counselor, not probably thinking, oh my gosh, I've never heard that before. Or, wow, those people, I didn't see. I mean,
I'm a marriage therapist, so I talk about those things, sex, money, and faith, 3 or 4 times a day, right? So I'm talking about it all the time. And the cool part is I do get the unique opportunity to hear all these stories from people, and I see them talking like, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed and say this. And they start telling the story, and then I finish it off and I'm like, how'd you know that? I'm like, because I've heard this story before. You guys are normal. It's okay. And just what you were talking about with that conflict piece is there's an old adage of you can never prevent a fight. You can postpone one a long time, but you can't prevent it. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so you can either have small little ones or you can hold it in and have a great big one. And so when we talk about sex, money, and your faith, what we're basically saying is you guys are going to have some conflict with those things. And let's learn how to talk to each other about that, get those skills down, know where you're coming from, know that perspective. Why? Because you're going to do this multiple times. And the more that you can do this better, which means do less damage to each other when you're talking and having those disagreements, the smoother your marriage is going to be.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, if you are a newlywed couple, you're engaged, you're getting married, and I think if someone were to ask you, hey, do you want to have, do you want to be good with your money in your marriage? Do you want to have great sex in your marriage? Do you want to have a strong faith in your marriage? I'm guessing every single person would be like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Well, this is like the key to that. You need to be willing to have that conversation and discuss it. This is so foundational of, if you want that, you have to set this.
Yeah, and everyone will say yes to those questions like you said, but then when you follow up, so how are you going to do that? I don't know. I hope it goes okay.
Right.
I hope this happens. I hope we save money. I hope sex goes great. I hope we're both on the same page with our faith.
Right.
No, let's not just hope. Let's go talk and address it.
Yeah, hope is not a good strategy.
Correct.
It's good to have hope, but it's not a good
plan.
Strategy or plan. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ryan, that was a great framing of that. To ask as a question, do you want these three things to be strong in your marriage? Yes. Okay, this is an area you really need to consider.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean that goes, I think, for anybody listening.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've been married 30 years and like if you answer those questions, I think it comes back to this of like, okay, we need to have conversation. We need to figure this out together.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, Ryan. So if someone's listening right now, Tony, and they're maybe a year in or 6 months in or many years in, and they're thinking, we didn't do that, or maybe my church didn't really offer it. I wish we would have done that. Can they do premarital counseling like posts? wedding? Like, can you go through that same program? I mean, I know you offer counseling at any time, but can you do that
same
stuff?
program anytime you want. And so great. And that couples once in a while will come in, and those are all couples that I call, oh, you guys are good. You just want to get to great, right? So there's some couples that come in crisis, and we got to help them get good. And then there's other couples like, hey, we never did this. We should go in and let's talk about some of these things and get some skills on how to communicate better. We just want to go there. And so you don't have to be in crisis to go to marriage counseling, right? You can go and what do you want to talk about? Well, we want to learn how to communicate better about this, or we always keep getting stuck with this. We have the same argument over and over. Okay, let's go and do that. So if these are all interesting things that you want to talk about, the very first step is go talk to your spouse. Hey, you want to go learn some more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. That's cool.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Tony, number 3.
Number 3, the next one is, we'll do kind of a little quiz. What is the typical marriage vows? What do you usually hear at church when you guys are getting, what's the typical marriage vows?
Are you quizzing us?
Yep, I'm asking you guys.
Okay.
Oh, for better or worse.
Better or worse.
Sickness and health.
Sickness and health.
To have and to hold.
Till have and to hold.
Till death till we part.
Death till we part.
Did we get most of it?
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the bad news. Very rarely are you going to fight about those things. Right? It's kind of funny how you do. It's like, sickness and health, richer or poor, to death do us part. Those are big, broad, general things. You're pledging that to each other. And you're promising that to each other, which is really awesome and cool. But the third thing is unwritten rules, right? You're going to fight about all the things that you guys never really talked about. And I got a little more of a quiz for you. Hopefully this doesn't get too personal for you guys. In your guys' marriage, who does the laundry?
Honestly, it's both.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
How do you decide who does what? Or what? How do you, like it's full? Is it Ryan's turn? Is it Michelle's turn? How do you guys figure that out?
This is crazy that this works for us, but legitimately it's whoever sees that the hamper is full and just does something.
Perfect.
And it just ebbs and flows. We both do it, and we both, I don't know, just chip in. And last night we were going to bed and I was like, oh, there are sheets in the wash. And so Ryan just went over to the dryer, started folding things, but I'd put them in and.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
My
just kind of
follow-up question to that is, how'd you guys decide that? Did you have a family meeting and sit down and talk about?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll do another one.
Right.
In your family, who mows the lawn?
Or HOA.
We live in an HOA.
Oh, so. You don't have to. In your family, who cooks supper?
Both of us, but I would say 60% Ryan, 40% me.
Okay. How'd you guys decide that? Just kind of happened,
yeah,
right?
Happened.
In your family, who vacuums and cleans the house?
Pay for it to be done.
We do.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yeah.
How'd you guys decide that?
Started when Thomas was born. And it just was something that we just had to offload from our plate.
Because we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So what happens is that we'll kind of pick on you guys for that one. My point is, the unwritten rules, most couples have all these things that they never talk about. They just kind of happen. Who mows the lawn? Who does the grocery shopping? How often are we going to go to bed together? Do we eat dinner at the same time?
Yeah.
Who cleans the house? Who cleans the toilets? Right? And they just kind of evolve. And you only know it's going bad when you break these unwritten rules, right? And I would guess you guys had an unwritten rule, who vacuums, right? And then all of a sudden at some point, your lives got so busy you couldn't do it anymore. And then we start, hey, are you vacuuming? No. Are you vacuuming? No. And you have this little friction or this conflict. And then eventually you solve like, hey, I got to take this off my plate. Like, what'd you say when Thomas was around? It's like, yep, I can't do this anymore. Okay. And you solve that. But what happens is there's all these unwritten rules that couples have that they just kind of happen. And they're not bad. They're not terrible. Like your laundry one. There isn't a wrong answer, whoever does it when or how you do it. I just want you guys to see is like, you never really talked about it. It just kind of happened.
Right.
And it kind of works. And you're going to break it and you're going to do this unwritten rule and you're going to miss it and you have this fight. So one of the big things that we talk about in premarital counseling is let's get into some of the details. We're not going to talk about sickness and health and rich or poor. Those are the generalities. We want to do the more specific ones. How often are you guys going to eat together? Are you going to eat separate or can you come home? Do you have family dinners? Who's doing the laundry? Are we going to have someone clean our house or are we going to do it? All that stuff, typically what happens when you first get married as a newlywed, it just kind of happens. And then at some point, life changes and you start to argue, you start to get mad, and you have these big fights and you're like, I didn't know if we ever decided who was vacuuming.
Yeah, sure.
I just can't do it anymore, neither can I. Oh, okay, well, let's sit down and figure that out. But that's just all part of this laying the groundwork to figure those things out.
I feel like we have had some times where laundry is piled up and it's Sunday night and Ryan will say something, oh my gosh, I don't have any work clothes. It's 10 o'clock on a Sunday. I have to start a load. And it's not that he's mad at me. It's just his frustration. And I'll realize, oh my gosh, I could have started that. You could have started it. But I think for us, it's communication. So Ryan will be really good at saying, hey, the sink's full. You don't stress about it. I'll get to that later. Or I'll try to communicate with him. Hey, I'm going to start a load of laundry. I can take care of that today. If I see that the sink is overflowing, I might get frustrated. But I never communicated with Ryan to say, hey, love, I don't have time. This is actually bothering me. Can you do it? Right. I just expect it. And then that's where tension happens because, I don't know, I feel like we both pull equal weight. So it's just, but there's not always dishes or laundry. It's just kind of, it all ebbs and flows. You know, they're not all due at the same time. So on a daily basis, we're both doing stuff, but it does require that communication too.
Yeah.
All right, I want to pause you guys right there because I want the audience to listen to that answer because that's a healthy marriage answer, right? What you guys say, hey, we communicated about this. We talked about this. We figured this out. That's all the stuff. This is a couple that's been married a long time and has communicated that and figured that out. Now you have to go back to think about what it was like year one when you were married.
Yeah.
Is like, oh,
was it?
When you talk about the dishes, like I'd see them and then, oh, well, I would do them, but I think that was Ryan's job, or Ryan's like, oh, I will do. And so what happens is you guys have learned to communicate and talk and figure that out. And you're like, oh, I need to let him know. Or even just when you talked about the laundry, oh, it's full. Yep, we have this arrangement. It's not neither one of ours fault. It's crap. This is just something we got to go do and it's not very fun. Yeah. But there isn't this blame of this stuff because you guys have communicated and talked about that. And why I just wanted to point that out is that's exactly that kind of answer that you gave is what hopefully couples learn how to do right away in the beginning. Now, you guys are probably smoother than I was, but I learned this. I have the same answers that these guys do, but it took me arguments. It took me frustrations with my wife to figure that out, to kind of talk and communicate and get there. And so hopefully we can get there quicker. But you guys gave a great example of a good answer. That's what we're trying to teach in premarital therapies. Have that conversation now instead of after having these disappointments or frustrations or these things spinning in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Tony, this is where, Michelle, we've talked about this, but I think this is where going back to, you know, that premarital counseling, one of the big things is family dynamic.
Yeah.
Because see, like I grew up, my dad cooked all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, like dinner, you know, I'd come home for dinner, he would make dinner. You know, now, I mean,
you're a farm kid, so it was a lot of like steaks and burgers.
We had meat for every meal, but which is fine. But he just did it. Like he did laundry. He did. I mean, because part of it, you know, he farmed. Now it was seasonal. You know, like there would be seasons that he would be super busy. You know, spring, fall.
Your mom worked in town too, so she was like driving, right, commuting. Yeah. So it was like that dynamic too.
Yeah, but that was so like part of it for me. That was just part of what I thought, oh, I don't know. I mean, I just cooked dinner. Mm-hmm. But I think that's very important to understand as you're entering in a marriage, like those roles that come from, you know, a family that you grew up in are so important to this discussion.
Yeah, you were bringing that to the table. Like, hey, I got no problem cooking or doing something I'm used to. I got that role model. I saw my dad do that all the time. It was great. And Michelle, if you had that same kind of family, it goes pretty slick, right? But if you have, let's say, expectation, Ryan's like, I grew up in a family where my dad never did any of that stuff. And I come in and I come sit down at the table and Michelle's like, you can cook this. You're like, oh no, I don't know. And it's just those expectations. And that's what it means. Like what do you bring into the table? Just as long as you guys know, you can work it out.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And like what perceptions perceptions do you have, or unspoken expectations that you need to articulate? Oh, I thought that the mom was always going to do all the kids' stuff and drive them around and coordinate their schedules. And, and then it's like, oh gosh, that's actually a lot of work. I just told you this yesterday. I said, I spend so much time every day doing schedule stuff for our family, calendars, soccer schedules, who's driving, who, where. And that is like a part-time job in itself, just coordinating the family calendar and making sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. But
and that's those unexpected or unspoken expectations, unwritten rules. And when I was asking you guys, are like, well, we do this. What I want you to remember is there's no right or wrong answer, right? Is whatever you guys say, whatever you've come up with is perfect. So you don't want to try and find like, well, these are the roles and this is what the husband's supposed to do and this is what the wife's supposed to do. No, the whole point of marriage therapy or premarital therapy is what's Ryan and Michelle want to do together. That's the answer. And so it doesn't matter what your answers are. And I always tell couples, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. It does not matter. Just you two get on the same page. Just make it so it's not unspoken. We're just going to say it out loud. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like also it's changed in seasons. So when Ryan had his name an injury, when he had any of those, I felt like I joked, I feel like I'm, a part-time nurse, but I did step up when I was going through some adrenal fatigue. And after the car accident, Ryan stepped up, and neither one of us really asked the other, but we were very just perceptive of each other's needs. And like out of a heart of service, hey, I'm going to make dinner. You know what? I'll do this one. I'll do this one again, because we wanted to serve the other.
Yeah, and that's what lays the groundwork for a healthy marriage is if they're no longer unspoken, then when they have to change, we kind of know and we can talk about it. It's like, hey, Ryan, I used to do these things. I can't do them right now. I'm hurt. So I know they're my roles and I know I can't do them. I'm going to need some help. Okay, great, cool. Instead of, we've never really talked about that. Now you're doing it for the first time. When you're not feeling good or you're feeling overwhelmed, it's way harder. And so it's just, can we make it so that it's not this hidden quiet thing, but we just talk about it ahead of time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Love it.
Do you have any final lessons for our listeners on this topic, Tony?
Final lesson is just the theme through it all is communication, is communicate about anything and everything. If you're a newlywed, start listening to how your parents communicate, right? A final kind of just little thing.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, to think about is, have you ever heard your mom go, oh, that's just your dad? Okay, that's a really loving comment. What that usually means is that's probably 400 or 500 fights that your mom and your dad had until your mom figured out, oh, that actually is just your dad. When we argue, he goes to the garage. He needs to calm down a little bit. Then he comes back, and then we talk, and then we work out everything, and we move forward. That's really cool. Your parents say that, but they didn't just learn that, right? That was experience in doing all those things. It's like, so how'd you learn it? Well, I would chase him in the garage, and I would do that, and it would get all messy. And eventually I learned is like, oh, that's your dad. Or, oh, that's just your mom. That's how she operates. And that's kind of that what you bring to the table. Once you hear healthy couples that have learned and established that, they're not trying to change each other anymore. They're trying to work with each other. And so it's like, oh, that's your dad. Just let him go to the garage. He'll be fine. That's your mom. She just needs to go in her room for a bit. She'll come back, and then we'll talk. That's what healthy marriages sound like. So listen for those little things that always sounds kind of cool. It's like, oh, that's just your mom. Yeah, when you're newlyweds, you don't usually say that. It's like you're trying to figure that out and you're learning that, and it gets a little frustrating. But just to kind of listen for some of those things.
Yeah, I think Tony, that communication is so important, and I think part of it, this is something that I feel like I've learned. I tend to take probably longer than most, but trying to understand what's behind it. Mm-hmm. So like if Michelle's like, oh, will you make dinner again tonight? Like understanding that there might be something behind that, and not just like, I don't want to make dinner.
Right.
Like it could be she had a really long day, was super stressed, whatever it is, but trying to understand like what's behind it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part, as we communicate of understanding, where maybe initially like, you'd say something and I would just take it like, what? Okay.
Sure.
Like, where potentially it could be conflict, but now understanding like, okay, there's probably something behind this. Let's dig a little bit deeper.
The heart underneath it, or the why behind what's being said.
Yeah. And asking some questions, asking some follow-ups, to understand what that is.
Yeah. So good. Tony, what about the importance of check-ins? That was one thing that you had to check-ins.
Yes, check-in, which is that whole communication. You just answered it. It's like, oh, good job, Ryan. A for the day, buddy.
Yes,
but like when Michelle goes, hey, can you cook dinner again? Is instead of going, oh, Michelle, she never wants to cook supper. What's up with her? It's like, oh, I better check in. There might be something there because my wife normally helps out and is great and is awesome. So if she's saying she doesn't want to do that, what's back there? What's going on? And instead of looking at it from this perspective of like, why is she asking me to do this again? Is like, oh no, she's loving, cool, and awesome. So if she's doing something's going on, I better go check in. And so, that's just always going back and checking in. And it's just part of that communication is asking each other, how are we doing? How's our marriage at? Where are we at? Keep checking in and doing that. As you get older and you've been married longer, you can do that a lot easier. But in the beginning, since we're talking about newlyweds, start in that habit. Get in that habit of checking in. Don't just check in whenever you're in a fight and things are bad. It's actually the worst time to check in, right? It's like if you're in a big fight and you go to Michelle, how are we doing in our marriage right now? Not the time to ask. Yeah. But that's usually what couples do, right? Is what if you did that every week and got in that habit and just started doing it's like, hey, we're going to sit down and start our budget. We're going to do that. Okay, cool. Hey, let's talk about how are we doing at communicating and talking? Where are we at with that? That's the time to ask and to do those things and to keep checking in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And we had some guests that said they do that Sunday nights. They'll do like a marriage check-in Sunday nights.
Yeah. I love that. Michelle?
Yeah.
We have not done this in a long time.
Oh, man.
I'm so excited.
I'm so nervous. Excited. Do you know what time it is?
Can you hear the jar?
Do you guys have like a theme song for this yet?
We do.
We
do.
Insert theme song, right?
All right.
Thank you guys for sending in questions. And Tony, pick the hardest one in here and answer it.
All right.
So get it out of the way for us.
We'll let Tony pick.
All right. The question is...
Mystery question of the day.
What's one thing you appreciated about your spouse in the last 30 days?
Oh, that's
an
nice.
Easy, nice question.
Hey, Tony, you and Michelle, Tony's wife, her name is also Michelle, did an amazing job at our date night. I just realized that the last time you were here, you were getting ready to do the date night for our church community, and you guys did great. So thank you and Michelle for being here.
Thank you very much. Well, and I'll just jump on that. What's one thing I appreciated that is my wife came to Celebrate and did a marriage talk, which is something I do all the time. She had to do that out of her comfort zone, not what she's used to, and she was willing to do that for me and put herself in that tricky spot. So, yeah, that would be the thing that I appreciate my wife for in the last 30 days. All right, you guys.
I didn't mean to steal your answer.
No, that actually was really good. I liked it.
Yeah, she did.
I have lots of things, but that was a good one.
You both did great. It was so fun to see you both up there, and seeing like you two are different, clearly, and I think most couples can relate to that. It was so good
because Michelle's more analytical, and you talk about feelings all day long with people. So that was really fun to see that dynamic of she's just kind of like yes, no, but she's funny too. Yeah. She has some good like little zings in there.
She'll sing me.
Yeah, she was great. So yeah,
Michelle.
What was the question again?
What do you appreciate from your spouse in the last 30 days?
I'm going to give this answer. A little over a month ago, March 2nd, was my birthday. And you guys know that Ryan threw me an incredible birthday week. And just Ryan does such a great job of making me feel special and seeing me and doing even simple things throughout the day. a text message, "Hey, love, I'm thinking about you." He shared that he has a reminder in his phone to send me messages. And I just feel like March is just the culmination of all of that. When my birthday happens, it's just such a prime example of those little thoughtful things that you do for me. So, and then more recently, our son's birthday, you were really helpful with. We pulled this party off as a team. He wanted to have a soccer party. It's still winter here in South Dakota, so it was kind of challenging. And we just made a really good team pulling off that party. And that was fun to do. And you were great. So
yeah, I did realize that I can't play goalie. I gave up quite a few goals to 10-year-olds, but
there were some older kids there
still
too.
Had fun.
There were. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
First of all,
thank you,
that.
Ryan.
Yeah. I think just what I appreciate about you is as we're like entering these new phases of life, as we've been dealing with injuries and all of this, like, you know, I think we continue, you know, I think you continue to support me and vice versa. And it's so fun to all of these stages of life, you know, having a 10-year-old and me being somewhat emotional about this, like just walking with me through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really cool.
Thanks, love.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Tony, you got off with a really easy mystery question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, if we
Thank
draw
goodness.
a hard one, we'll save it for you
Yeah.
when you
Call
come
me,
back.
yeah.
Sounds great. Well, any final parting thoughts, you guys?
Enjoy. If you're a newlywed, embrace it, enjoy it. It's going to be new and different, but man, if you can find someone that shares life with you and wants to do life kind of like these guys were just talking about, it's really enjoyable and fun. So put the work in, and know it's going to be tricky and hard, but anything that you put the work in, it usually pays off for, and marriage is no different.
Yeah, totally. I love that statement that marriage is fun.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I had sent a message to a friend of ours. They were having a baby today, you know, about just being a dad. Yeah. And I just like being a dad is so much fun. Mm-hmm. Being married is so much fun. It certainly can be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
should be.
It should be. And I think the things we talk about today are the foundation of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great responses, guys. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Tony, for being here again today. It was great to have you back. And thank you to our listener for joining us today. We hope that this is so helpful as you embark on your marriage. And do reach out to us. We have some resources for you at Celebrate.church/marriage. Our marriage and family pastor is Chris. He would love to chat with you and get you in the right direction. So do reach out. If you don't have a church home, we'd love for you to visit us. You can find our location and service times at Celebrate.church. What else do we have? If you want to submit a mystery question, you can do that on our text number, which is 605-951-0110. We realize you might be driving, so we also have that on the screen and in our show notes as well. And finally, you can find us on Instagram at Celebrate MarriageCast. We hope that you have a great week.
Have a great week.
Thanks.